Greetings, Judah, Israel. It's your brother DFG. Hey, my brothers and sisters. How many of you guys are familiar with the, I guess it's a quote or a proverb, metaphor. You know, when you get lemons, make lemonade. I bring that up because although I think that's a very resilient statement, and these times that we're in, I also believe that it's a flawed statement as well. And here's what I mean about that. You know, when you look at, you know, a lemon in and of itself, you know, you can equate that to, you know, just a mindset. Whatever man thinketh, so is he, is what the scripture teaches us, right? But when you think about a lemon and you say, hey, you know, when you got lemons, you know, make lemonade. That simply means things are going rough and things are going tough. And it implies that you can just change your mindset. And in the changing of your mindset, everything works itself out. Which is, again, a resilient statement. I mean, it can get you, you know, to thinking, but it's not going to solve any problems. It's not an actual resolution. Again, you know, it's just a simple statement of resiliency. Because if you actually plan to make some lemonade, there's some other essentials you better have, like water, some type of liquid. You're going to definitely need a sweetener. And last but not the least, you're going to need a container as well. And I only bring that up because in these times that we're in right now, brothers and sisters, we are challenged with a lot of attacks around the mind. Spiritual wickedness, I guess is the right way to say it. Spiritual wickedness, even in high places. Demonic forces that are constantly bombarding us with all type of negativity, negative energy. And when I say negative energy, I'm talking about resentment, hateful, pride, being spiteful, contentious, jealous, envious, insecure, pompous. All those spirits are out there and they're everywhere, and this wicked society all over this flat earth is using every single one of those forces and many, many, many more. Many more. And if we're not thinking about this, you've heard me say before, you, we, us, me, we are doomed. We're doomed. If we think that we're going to get through the times to come, brothers and sisters, just with a positive mindset, or thinking that we can just, you know, disregard, you know, clear forces that we're dealing with, then I'm telling you, no, we're not. No, we're not. Because all those forces are going to do is they're going to continue to wear you down. You're going to have a lot of sleepless nights. You're going to have a lot of anxiety. And ultimately, it's going to push you into either making bad decisions or, even worse, cause you to start finding other ways to relieve the stress, relieve the anxiety, to get your mind off of things that probably are there because they need to be there, maybe to challenge you to think beyond, you know, feelings or emotions. All set up again for self-destruction. You know, our book tells us, and you've heard me say it time and time again, God's people is destroyed for a lack of knowledge. And what it means is simply stating that, you know, we really, you know, don't always consider all the angles that the demonic forces on this earth plays against us. We simply tend, or we simply just look at what is my current situation, what caused my current situation, and then how I'm going to respond to that or not respond to it. And again, you know, your brother's not here saying that, you know, those things are not legit, those things are not, you know, forces, you know, that we're all dealing with. God knows I'm dealing with them. What I'm just reminding my brothers and sisters is that, you know, just like a lemon, if you just stop right there with the lemon, all you're going to get is some bitter taste in your mouth. You know, Proverbs tells us, Solomon tells us in Proverbs, what is that, 16? He says what? 18. Pride coming before the destruction. Now, what does that mean? Pride come before destruction. Simply meaning that there are things that could be on our minds, things that we could be dealing with, things that we don't want to deal with, or things that we conclude on our own whether or not it's worthy of being dealt with, never realizing that those very emotions are going to lead us down that broad path to destruction. Because that's what it means. Pride come before destruction. It simply means that we can let our pride get so strong that we start making decisions that are self-destructive, totally self-destructive. Because at the end of the day, we don't know what we don't know. Would you all agree with that? We don't know what we don't know. We do understand our experiences. We do understand our past. But more times than not, if we want to be totally honest with ourselves, our pride will not allow us to do something different. Our pride just takes us right back down that pathway to destruction. Therefore, again, when Solomon told us, the wisest man that ever walked this earth, that pride cometh before destruction, and a high mind, which means, don't want to listen, don't want to take, good counsel, leads to a fall. And even with all of the energy that a lot of us are expending right now, trying to get ready, for what's coming, we know war is coming. We know famine is coming. We know, diseases are coming. We know the power grid is going to go down at some point, most likely. And although some of us are taking the right steps to get ready for that, but I'll say this, if you have the wrong mindset, if we have the wrong mindset, all of those right steps are not going to work. It's still going to end up being destruction. Because guess what? We take our mindsets with us wherever we go. And if we have what we would consider an attitude of pride or mindset of, if it don't work for me, then I'm not going to be happy. Therefore, I'm not going to make the life of anybody else happy. Then guess what? That goes with you wherever you go. So I don't know, if you got a bunker, you're just going to take it down in the bunker. You follow me? If you have a place to go, to a safe house to go to, well, you'll just be in a safe house with that same mentality, that same attitude. And what you'll do is you'll just make everybody miserable around you, or you'll be right, you'll be contentious, and everybody in there will be fighting, and ultimately somebody's going to get hurt or somebody's going to get kicked out, and the whole thing is just going to fall apart. All of that work is going to be done for nothing. Just expended a lot of money and a lot of energy because pride wasn't dealt with while you were doing all the other things, or while we were doing everything else to prepare, for these, horrible times to come. And again, your brother's talking about it because I don't want us to be entrapped in that. I don't want, my brothers and sisters to fall. The young ones, the middle-aged, or the old. But I have been around here long enough to know that, people with a bad attitude don't change their attitude just because they're in a crisis. Quite frankly, they get even worse. And like, when you got lemons, if you don't take and find out all of the necessities, all of the resources, you don't take advantage of all the other resources, you're never going to come up with lemonade. You'll end up with some Powerade or something, but it's not going to be lemonade. You're just going to be bitter, and we'll make everyone around us equally bitter. And again, a house divided cannot stand. How can Amos 3:3? So how can two walk together except they be in agreement? And inside of agreement, I want to remind my brothers and sisters, somebody has to be in charge. Our book talks about justice and righteousness. It also talks about equity. It also talks about leadership. And most of it ties right back into, if you're a female, covering, and if you're a man, can you follow a leader? Can you be strong enough as a male to align yourself up, with other men? Do you have the discipline to line yourself up, alongside of a leader and fight like brothers. Because that's what it's going to take. And if you have the mindset, my dear brothers, you know what I'm saying? Again, you're just going to bring that bad energy right amongst everybody else. And it's going to end up a whole lot worse for those who are around you. Have been better off just, dealing with, this suffrage by yourself. Because at least then you're not guilty of destroying the lives of other people. And that's not a good life. That's definitely not a solution. So I bring it up. I bring it up for the conversation. I bring it up for this discussion. What are you doing to work upon, your mindset? Sisters and brothers. Again, sisters. What are you doing in terms of how will I change and how will I make the necessary adjustments that I have to make to live amongst a community of like-minded believers who are all working towards obeying Yah's will so that you can survive. So that you can survive. And my brothers, the same thing. How do you align yourself with like-minded men serving Yahuwah so you can contribute, so that you can be an asset, not a liability, again, so you can survive. And although I know many of us, when we're going through certain things, we feel like, well, I'm right and you're wrong, you're right, and I'm right, you're wrong, and you just don't understand my perspective, or, you're being hard-headed, or you're just too arrogant. All those feelings and all those emotions exist, and guess what? You might be right to think that way. But the question, the challenge coming back, is that the best way for everyone else? What in Proverbs, I want to say it's 14 and 12, it says, there's the way that seems right to a man, but the end of that way will lead to death. So you can be, right in terms of how you feel, but your feelings could be wrong if you're talking about living amongst other people and, making the necessary adjustments so that everybody eats. Everybody lives. Otherwise, it's hopeless. The things that we see going on all around this earth, brothers and sisters, that's not going away. That's not going anywhere. Quite frankly, it's intended. It's a plan that was constructed many, many years ago. The first person that you heard, I want to say the first person I heard say something about that was Reagan, about the one world order or something along that line. So that would be you're talking about 40 years plus, and it probably goes beyond that. Depopulation. Re-enslaving the poor. Getting rid of what they would call the useless eaters. Those who don't really contribute anything that, can enrich, the elitist on this earth. And unfortunately, many of our people fall into that category. Many of our people, and I'm talking about Israel. I ain't even talking about, those amongst their own group, the heathen group, because guess what? They're not going to spare them either. They're not going to show their own kind any mercy. They really never do. The only time that they even work amongst their own kind when they're targeting us. Because they can get their own kind, to do the dirty work. The Klansmen, the militia groups, those, poor white trash is what they call them. But again, they're not our concern. At least they're not my concern. Israel is my concern. And I know that if we don't have these conversations and we don't talk about these things, and we wait until we all supposedly get together, or wait till we get together, not supposedly get together, we wait together, we bring in what we believe were like-minded people, but we never address the attitudes. We never address, what are those things, about each and every one of us individually that would cause no one to want to suffer us. Our Torah is put in place, believe it or not, for that, so that we can monitor and manage behavior. Torah is put there so that we're not lawless. We don't become lawless people. It's not there to tie our hands. That's religion. Religion is about conquering and oppressing people, bondage, enslavement of people. The Torah is about laws and justice. It says things like in Exodus 21 and 22, 23, 24, eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Not because they want us going around poking each other's eyes out, because then everybody will be blind. What it's simply stating is that if you don't want your eye poked out, don't poke out the next guy's eye. That's called being civilized. Proverbs 6, 17 and 19 says that, woe unto a man or a woman who causes discord amongst the brethren. You know what that is? That's those who are, unhappy, and they seek to make other people unhappy. So what they do is they cause discord. They go around saying things that they heard. They go around, repeating things that weren't to be repeated or didn't need to be repeated, to gain, alliance, to get people, how we talk, to get people on their side, get people on our side. So what we do is that if we are dissatisfied or we are unhappy with someone, then we align ourselves up with what we do is we reach out to others who may not feel the way we feel, but what we do is that we bring to them gossip or confidential information. It could be either of the two, to cause discord, to cause division. We talk behind each other's back. How about that? And our book said that it is wicked, it's sinful to do it. Again, something we need to be talking about. What do we got? We have 2 Chronicles, 16 and 9 says, the presence of Yahuwah, our allure, goes throughout the whole earth, seeking to show himself strong on behalf of those who are obedient unto him. Do you realize that if any of these behaviors that I've mentioned thus far reside in you, that you'll never see Yah's strength in you? Because so far, everything I'm bringing to you, brothers and sisters, I'm bringing it to you from the book. I'm bringing it to you from the Tanakh. All these things that I'm sharing with my brothers and sisters about, these are the things that Yah call unrighteous behavior. These are the unseen, for lack of a better word, demons that drive so many people. I mean, we all know the obvious one: homosexuality, adultery, lying, stealing, killing. We all know those. And most people will tell you, well, I don't do those things. And they probably don't. But these other things that I'm mentioning, pride, selfishness, arrogance, bitterness, envy, jealousy, divisiveness, gossiping, backbiting, lust, greed, pride, they go unchecked. They go totally unchecked by so many of us. And the reason they go unchecked because, unfortunately, so many of us are guilty of it. King Saul got in a whole lot of trouble, if you guys remember. You can find that in 1 Samuel chapter 15. By just doing one, two little things that he thought were not important based off of what he was commanded to do by the Creator. And he thought, well, that don't matter. I'm doing everything else. I'm going to get most of the stuff done. He didn't realize that when Yah gives a commandment and Yah says what's wicked and what's not wicked, what's right and what's wrong, Yah doesn't, he doesn't make exceptions, brothers and sisters. He doesn't make exceptions. He guides, he directs, and then he holds us accountable. And you'll never see his strength in your life if you choose to do what you want to do because of the way you feel, or we feel, I feel. And I keep adding myself into the equation because I don't want to come off as self-righteous, because I'm not. I understand, I've got to deal with those same demons too. They bother me. They pick on me too. They knock on my door, my mental door. But at the same time, I'm willing to confront it. I'm willing to acknowledge it. More importantly, I'm willing to address it. See, because I would prefer the lemonade versus the lemon in and of itself. And I realize that it can't just be about what I think. It also has to be predicated on what I do. I need those other essentials, like prayer, fasting, repentance, obedience, long-suffering, forgiveness, patience, submissiveness, honor, teamwork, respect, keep my mouth shut, don't say everything that comes to my mind. Understand, that if I say a particular thing, that it could cause divisiveness between the brothers, so I don't say it. Try to be sensitive enough to recognize that, just because I feel a certain way don't mean I have to say how I feel. And when I realize that it could be causing some form of contention, then don't say it. Or pull back. Slow it down. But Saul was destroyed. Saul lost his kingdom because of his mindset. He thought he could do most of what was right. But then, based off of what was popular, there are some things he decided, well, I ain't doing that. I'll do all this, but I'm not going all out like that. How many of us have been guilty of that? Well, I'll do this and do that, but I ain't doing all that. Now, I ain't going to go that far. Now, it's too much. Well, is it too much if y'all say to do it? Because he said if you take the position that he says to do it and because you think it's too much, he says that is called rebellion. And he said the spirit of rebellion or pride was witchcraft. And how ironic, today is Halloween in America. Day of witches and demons and all kind of evil spirits being conjured up. But Yah said the fact that our pride was witchcraft. Our rebellion was witchcraft. In Deuteronomy 18, verse 14 through 16 through 18 really says that, that's an abomination before y'all. Witchcraft is an abomination. So if I'm in pride, you're in pride, and your pride is causing you, not to do something because your pride says not to do it, or you can't get your arms around your pride. In other words, you're too proud to shut something down that could be causing a problem for you or others. Then we're told that that's considered witchcraft. Again, Yah's not going to show himself strong in your life. And again, these are the things that your brother's bringing out because I don't want you to get left behind. I don't plan to get left behind. When Yah does come for the righteous among us, the 1/3, I plan to be in that number, brothers and sisters. It is not my desire to be destroyed along with the wicked. No way, no how. And I'm willing to do whatever I have to, including if I have to submit myself to another leader amongst Israel. Have no problem with it. Those of you know my background, spent almost 35 years in leadership. Not at the very top, just a leader amongst leaders. Or I've had many, men and women, corporate I'm talking about, in authority over me, that, quite frankly, they gave a direction, I executed the direction. And I was able to keep food on my table because I did it. Now, if it went against my values and my morals, in other words, if it went against the Torah or went against the commandments, then I didn't do it. If it caused me to do something that went against my morals, my principles, then I was like, oh, hell no, we don't go. No way, that's going to happen. But I digress. That's not the essence of what I'm talking about. What I'm saying is that, we have to step back and start taking an inside look at ourselves if we want to survive this wicked, evil storm that's fast approaching us. Our book tells us, righteousness is the strength of a people. And what is righteousness? Righteousness is an alignment, is justice and kindness according to Yah's Torah. You can find that in Proverbs chapter, 14 and 31, 34. We always got to give some precepts here. And then the last thing, I'll say, and I wrote this one down because I want to make sure we got it right. Psalm chapter 119, verse 142. It says, justice and righteousness aligns itself with Abba Yah's Torah. So if you're a Torah keeper, then you have to be willing to focus on justice and righteousness. And I know many of my brothers and sisters say, well, okay, yeah, I get it, but how is righteousness when someone offends me? Well, the question comes back, is that offense an offense? Is that offense predicated on your pride? Or is that offense, or if you're offended based off of what the Torah says? Because if it's not centered on what the Torah says, brothers and sisters, then y'all don't consider that an offense, and he definitely doesn't consider that unrighteous. That's why we need the book. That's why we need that guide. That's why we need that constitution. I'm talking about Israel. And if we're going to survive again, the storm to come, we got to deal with these things. We can't look the other way. We can't just go off of what we think and what we feel. Again, you can be sincere. You could be truly offended and still be wrong. Can you believe that? You could be offended and be wrong because someone could come to you and just tell you the truth about something that you're not accustomed to hearing. Because we live in a so-called, not so-called, because this political correct society has got us saying, if you confront someone, because they're in a same-sex relationship, you're out of order. You're hostile, you're mean, you're intolerant, you're homophobic. So no, brothers and sisters, we need the Torah. If we're going to survive what's coming, we have to be thinking in terms of how do we self-assess and how do we measure ourselves according to Abba Yah's Torah, and what are those adjustments we have to make to ensure that we know when Yah does come and he puts that shield around his elect, you're inside that shield. And that's what this message is about. Will you survive the storm? Do you understand, that, bitterness can destroy you. Jealousy can destroy you. High-mindedness can destroy you. Your pride could be your destruction. And pride, again, has no boundaries, brothers and sisters. There's no true definition of pride. Pride is just a rebellion against anything that Yah says, or uses one of his messengers to say, or one of the believers to say to you. The last thing I'll say, Ecclesiastics, Solomon talks about, he says a time for everything. Time to live, a time to die. Time to laugh, a time to cry. A time to make some noise and a time to shut up. So again, I'll end where I began. If you got lemons, make lemonade. Very resilient, motivating statement. But understand, if you don't go back and look at the essentials that you're going to need for that lemonade, you're just going to end up bitter. And what are the essentials to keep us from being bitter, left behind? Miserable, unhappy, unfulfilled, is ignoring what Yahuwah has written for us along the lines of how can we be just, how can we understand what is kind, how can we submit, in the importance thereof, the essentials. Okay? So something to consider, something to think about. Last but not least, I want to thank, my brothers and sisters, who support the channel. I'm not going to forget you guys. Sister Billups, Brother Roderick, thank you guys, and others too. And I thank all you guys for your donations. They do matter. But I would do it without the donations. This is my calling. But never think that, your giving doesn't help all of you, my brothers and sisters. Doesn't matter how big or how small. So thank you. Y'all see the information. Cash App, P.O. Box. And then one other thing, we have our Wednesday night Bible studies, again, to keep us in these days and times that we're in, to keep us strong, to keep us resilient with the essentials. So we get our lemonade. So it can be a sweet ending for us. So that study kind of gets us together, and we kind of, get in alignment. Just get our minds right, okay? So that being said, just know this, if I have offended you, then accept my apology. But if Yah has offended you through his word, repent and live. It's your brother DFG. Yahuwah Shalom.